Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Uski and Herbie Show. 8 o'clock here on January 20th, Inauguration Day here in the United States. So, congratulations to President Biden taking over the presidency for the 46th President of the United States. We do have a big show planned for you this evening. Coming up shortly, hopefully at 8 o'clock, Mike Murphy, who is the New Hampshire Sportscaster of the Year. He is part of the communications department at New Hampshire. We'll talk to him, shortly here on the program. I think he just logged on right now, so let's get Mike on the program here. Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Hello, Chris. How are you, my friend?
Doing great. Thanks so much for coming on. Congratulations on winning the Sportscaster of the Year award up there in New Hampshire. I know that's it's a small state, but I guess you won the whole thing with the popular vote, right?
Well, the old saying, there was a basketball coach by the name of Tom Brennan. He coached at Vermont the year they beat my alma mater, Syracuse. And he once said, there's only 50 states, and I own one of them. So I'll take the one tiny state that somehow voted me in and be very happy. But it's a nice honor, even for a tiny state.
Yeah. I like the pennants in the back in your back in the wall there. It's pretty cool with all the old Buccaneer there, and this looks pretty cool behind you.
Well, I did that on purpose for you, Chris. I wanted to see. These are the same banners that used to hang in my dorm room in 1994, so they're definitely old school. And I missed of course the Packers are there, but that Buccaneers one, I missed that Buccaneers logo so much.
Exactly. So talk about how did you become a sports broadcaster? How did you get the bug? Because I know some people, are sports athletes or they play, hockey or whatever. How did you get the bug?
It started when I realized, like in 8th grade, that I wasn't any good to become my original dream of being a professional baseball player. Like I was bad. And so I remember just being frustrated and talking to my father and saying, now what am I going to do? And I tried to figure out how do people get paid to be around sports. And he was the one who suggested, you watch a lot of games, the guys who are describing the action, they're getting paid to be there. And that's when it hit me. Wow, I could get paid to talk about sports. And so I immediately started researching the people who I saw most often. I grew up in Connecticut, so the New York City area. So whatever Bob Costas was on, or Marv Albert was doing New York sports, Chris, and whatever. The more people I would see, the more frequently I'd see they were Syracuse guys. So I made up my mind I'm going to Syracuse. I learned to become a sportscaster. And, I was blessed with being naive and figuring it was easy. But that was how I kind of paved my way in, broadcasting women's basketball at Syracuse, doing talk shows. And the first job I ever got out of college was doing morning sports at a radio station in tiny little Concord, New Hampshire, a state I had never been in before, but I've since never left. And it's been this is my 26th year of being in New Hampshire doing various jobs. And as you can see from the title you put up here so nicely, broadcasting isn't even number one on my list anymore. It was fun, but it's only a small part of what I do. And I'm just fortunate I'm still able to do it.
Yeah, you do a lot of stuff with the football team and also with the skiing. I think that's hard to do. Is there game notes for skiing?
Fortunately, not many.
Yeah.
Well, football was my way in. Funny enough, Chris, because I was a radio broadcaster for the football team for 12 years, so I got to know Coach Mack. And then an opening occurred on the athletic communications side, and I took the job, but that got me off the air. I stopped broadcasting football in 2010, and that's how I'd come to meet you, going to media days in Baltimore and doing the notes and setting up interviews, which I love as well. Like I love helping other people broadcast when we're on regional networks or ESPNs. Recently, I've gotten back into some football broadcasts because we had the local deal with NBC Sports Boston. So I've been able to do some color commentary these last few years with Brendan Glasheen, and it's been nice to get back into football broadcasts. I really like it. It's a lot more work. You have to really beef up on the other team sometimes, although their fans will tell you I'm a terrible homer, and I admit it. I still cheer for the Wildcats when I'm on, but it's nice to be behind the mic on TV or radio.
Yeah, that's why I tell my mother sometimes if I get a job with the Mets or something like that, I'd be like, I can't be a Met broadcaster because or a visiting Met going to City Field, because I'd be like, here's the pitch, strike three. I'll be like, and the Nationals win by a score of 5-4. I'll be like, like I just lost. My team just lost in front of me. That's not cool. But
yeah,
but that's hard.
I'm a Mets guy like you too. So like, I'm not impartial. I try to be somewhat. If I was aspiring to go on to a network, I may have to work on that. But I'm a fan when it comes down to it. So when UNH scores, and I do hockey mostly here, I react a lot differently than when Maine or Boston College or Providence scores.
Right. Yeah. Because that's your team. You're getting paid to broadcast that team, and you have to be the homer. You got to sound like Joe Angel down here. Used to be here in Baltimore. You got to sound home run Chris Davis. You can't go and that's gone. Yeah. You got to be more of excitement. That's why when I grew up listening to the broadcasters, Bob Murphy in the summertime and Chris Schenkel during the winter, because Chris Schenkel used to do bowling on TV, and the way he held the microphone and how he presented himself, to me, I feel like that's a way to go to people and go, hi, I'm here to talk to you, and be a friend and be somebody. Like I had somebody tell me, when he listened to me one time, it seems like you're sitting right next to me, saying, this is what we're doing today. I was like, wow. I was like, I guess I got that voice.
Yeah, well, you mentioned cool. Bob Murphy instantly reminded me of my youth. Bob Murphy, Ralph Kiner, Tim McCarver, those were the Mets announcers I grew up with. And I have always associated them with the team. And you forgive your local announcers more than other people do, because it's that familiarity that I think there's a lot of people, and I won't say a lot, but there's enough people I know at UNH who say nice things to me all the time, but I think it's because they know me, as opposed to, geez, he's a really good broadcaster. Like, they don't know. There's a million broadcasters better than I am, but becoming that voice they're familiar with, it becomes part of who they are. And if they associate me with the school, that's a real tribute to me, and it's something I'm very proud of.
Yeah. What is is there like a shining moment, shining moment that you're always going to remember, broadcasting, if you retire tomorrow? Because I know there's one for me. I did it in 2014. I'll tell you in a minute. Do you have one of those things like, if I retire tomorrow, I was so glad I was there to call that game?
It was actually a weekend. If I talk about my whole career, it was a weekend because I was still doing baseball at the time. I was working for the New Hampshire Fisher Cats, which is the Toronto Blue Jays minor league team. And they just won. This is my first year. Baseball team had just moved to New Hampshire, 2004. And I was in Binghamton, New York. The Fisher Cats beat the Binghamton Mets to clinch the Eastern Division. And they were going to the championship series. I got in my car and drove to New Jersey, where the next day I was doing color for UNH football at Rutgers. And the Wildcats beat Rutgers the week after Rutgers won at Michigan State. And so I was on this unbelievable high where there were fireworks after the game, because it was opening game for Rutgers and they were stunned they lost, but they still had all these fireworks. So only New Hampshire fans were there. Chip Kelly was the offensive coordinator. Ricky Santos was the new quarterback. David Ball was the wide receiver before he broke Jerry Rice's record. And I drove back to New Hampshire listening to the WFAN overnight show, and all these callers, Rutgers fans, talking about UNH football. It all happened one weekend. So I know it's not one particular moment, so I'm curious about yours, but that really stuck out to me, that I could be part of two huge monumental wins for two different franchises in this tiny state the same weekend in 2004.
Yeah. Well, mine was a arena football team. It was the Baltimore Mariners. They just came back after a year or whatever, off and whatever, and it was the title game down in North Carolina. And I drove down to Fayetteville with my friends, or I was on the bus with the team, and it was like the last minute play. And the guys for the Mariners threw a touchdown pass to win the game, for the Mariners to win the championship. And I think I jumped so high in the air like Mike Albee, I was like, touchdown, and like, Mariners won. And I was getting excited, and I was like, let's just pack up. And somehow I thought about the Raider guy. Let's pack and get your big butt out of here. Let's go. Yeah. And after the show, the game was over, I had people coming up to me afterwards going, wow, you were so in that broadcast. People back home in Baltimore was like wondering if you're going to blow a blood vessel. I was like, well, I leaped in the midair, like, Mike Albee, and that was to me. It was like, but I kept getting people later in the week going, "Thank you so much for broadcasting that game," because I couldn't make it. You made me feel like I was there. So that
Yeah,
to me was
as
like,
you tell
wow.
that story, Chris, you remind me of being down in Delaware, UNH football, and I was mostly color commentary. Jim Janot, who's a 23-time sportscaster of the year in New Hampshire, he would typically miss one weekend a year for another event. And I went down to Delaware, the defending national champions at the time. So this was the year was 2000. So I think Delaware had won the 99 championship. UNH is down 31-3 late in the third quarter, rallied to come back and win in overtime. It was Coach McDonald's second year. The quarterback was Ryan Day. And it was pretty amazing,
Oh, wow.
pretty amazing game to do play-by-play for that game. And somebody had told me years later, both his sons played at UNH. He said, we were gathered in the living room, all on one knee when it came time for that game-winning field goal, praying. And I'm like, wow, there was no TV. Like you're saying, Chris, I was the one who was able to bring that to them. So you jarred that memory out of me.
Yeah, and it's like the memory you always say to yourself, okay, I guess if I retire and get a job at McDonald's or whatever, that's going to be something, I'm always going to cherish and, just say, hey, I was part of it, and I have a video, I have the audio, and I still, sometimes I play and I go, that's pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, not bad.
That's great.
Yeah. But, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, everybody I know, it seems like they come to Syracuse. Syracuse is great, broadcasting school. Bob Costas and, what's his name? The guy also fills in for NBC, who just came from ESPN, helped with Notre Dame football.
Mike Tirico.
Mike Tirico, and yeah. It's just, did you ever ran into those people? Did you meet anybody that you like? Now you sit up and when you're there and you're watching TV, going, "Hey, he was in college with me." Hey.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much anybody you see on TV is more famous than I am, and I was blessed to know them for the short time I did. So Dave Pash he does the NBA now and college basketball. Okay. He works with Bill Walton a lot, but does Arizona Cardinals football. He was a senior when I was a freshman. Mike Tirico, of course, would come back and speak at Syracuse. If people watch the NFL Red Zone channel, Andrew Siciliano is younger than I am. He does an unbelievable job every Sunday of keeping things moving if you watch all the Red Zone. So there are a ton of people I see on TV at big-time levels. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember him. He probably doesn't remember me. But it was actually nice. When I got this award recently, Matt Park, who's the voice of Syracuse, who I knew when he worked for the Binghamton Mets. That story I told you earlier. I was working for the Fisher Cats. He was in Binghamton. He actually included my Twitter handle with all the amazing Syracuse people who also won in their respective states, including Hall of Fame, I think, Dick Stockton. And that was kind of a humbling moment to be fondly included among the greats, if only because I was one of 50. But it felt good to be back with my my Syracuse brethren for that day.
That's cool. Well, I guess in June you'll hit them down to Winston-Salem to pick up the award, and I guess that's a big national convention, and I guess a lot of cool people are going to be there. I guess it's a good way to pick people's brains and get to know other stuff in the business.
It is. It's been many years since I've gone, Chris. I haven't won very frequently, and I want to shout out Dave Gorin. Is a Syracuse grad. He works in the Wake Forest radio network. He is really the one who's picked up the National Sportscaster and Media Association to keep this going. And it's such a tribute and a privilege to go. But meeting people from other states, I'll never forget talking to West Virginia or Washington or North Dakota. Those are the people I gravitate to. Nothing against the Hall of Famers and the big names, but I want to talk to the people who broadcast at especially college level in these states that I haven't been to, just to find out what their experience is like, what their background is. And they're down to earth, as you'd imagine. It'd be like you and I hanging out at M&T Bank Stadium, as we do that once a year when we're lucky, and just shooting the breeze. And, a couple of cocktails, nothing wrong with the beer being spread, too. It's pretty nice.
Hey, I just love your Twitter handle is great. Fake Murphy at 1 minute. I'm like, is that because I was looking for it the other day going, he has to have a Twitter handle. And I was looking at Dave sent out all the winners of this and that. And I'm like, there it is. And I'm like, wow. I think I should change mine to the fake Chris Heidel at whatever, But
Well, again, not to take advice of me because you don't go far, but I did that way back when, and it's been over 10 years. because I figured if I did my own parody account, nobody could take it from me. But there have been people who have put the wrong account trying to link to me sometimes, and I feel bad for these other Mike Murphys, the 6 million of them who accidentally get associated with me, so I apologize. There's only one fake Murph, and that's me.
That's cool. Well, let me let you go. Thank you so much for taking some time, and I hope to see you guys this year. I know Townsend is not playing because of the spring schedule, but I think you're coming to Delaware, so I'm going to try to make a trip to mask and all to Delaware and see you guys.
Chris, I hope so. And you've been threatening for many years to make the trek up to New Hampshire, so you let me know if this is the year to finally.
I should. I was thinking about that. The 13-hour bus trip. I'm like, I went to Charlotte. How about just get on the bus? Yeah.
Well, Coach Mack will out the red carpet for you if you did make it up there.
Oh, I know. We had him on 2 weeks ago before the national championship, and it's funny. Like you were talking about Ryan Day, no one mentioned the UNH side of things. Like ESPN. Yeah, it's like, come on, folks. There is a different side instead of he's an Ohio State and an Urban Meyer guy. He went to New Hampshire and Coach Mack taught him.
Yeah, he's from there. He's born and raised in New Hampshire. He learned under Coach Mack. He married the daughter of a famous Division II basketball coach at Southern New Hampshire University. Believe me, Ryan Day is New Hampshire through and through.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, enjoy the rest of your week and stay warm because I know you guys are getting cold up there. So stay warm and keep the football field nice and iced for the football teams in February and March.
Sounds good. March 6th, opening day against Albany. I hope it's 10 below. Let's go Wildcats.
Exactly. All right, buddy. Thank you so much. All right, see you. Bye. All right, folks. That's Mike Murphy, a sportscaster of the year up in New Hampshire. And we did have James Henderson just logged in. Hopefully he'll log back in. There he is. Yeah, we'll talk some Wolfpack basketball right now with James. Hi, James. How you doing?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for coming on. I saw you on the teleconference call a couple of weeks ago on Zoom. I was like, I haven't had this guy in a couple of years. I remember you came on the radio side for a little bit. So
I did.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm on quarantine right now, so I'm in the bedroom and not really in the office or anything. So, but doing good. Everybody in the house is healthy. I'm just now getting over COVID, and my wife's quarantining now, so kind of trying to keep it as separate as possible. So I've been getting the bedroom at night. So a few more days of that.
Well, let's talk about the ACC. Wacky schedule for basketball. It seems like every day you get an email from the ACC communications like this game is canceled and NC State has to play Clemson Part 2, or they have to go to Duke, or how difficult for you to cover a team when you don't know what's going on with COVID?
Man, it's real tough. Right now, for instance, with NC State, we cover basketball, men and women, and both programs are paused right now, right? Like both programs aren't playing games. And so it's tough. You kind of wait each, a couple days before each due date or next game just to see if a game's going to be played. I know, for instance, NC State announced on Monday they were not playing their midweek game against Virginia. And then obviously this weekend they've got North Carolina on Saturday. I still don't know if they're playing that game. So it's just been kind of one of those deals where you just try and take it as a wait and see approach, I think, for really all of the teams. And I don't know how they're going to decide who makes the NCAA tournament, all those things. I think it's going to be really difficult to do because so many teams have missed games. I know NC State's now going in, I think, having missed 4 ACC games so far. So it's a tough process.
I feel like they, with the ACC, and also you see a lot of other leagues like the CAA, we do the CAA and the ACC, they're like dropping down like flies. Like I was supposed to have a guy from Charleston on, and they're like, you guys paused, and they were supposed to play William and Mary over the weekend. So I'm like, what do we talk about? There's nothing really to talk about. I was talking about the pause and COVID, and it's the same story.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of it. I think the thing with State now is they've had this is their second pause. So the hope is maybe if they can get out of this one, they're at the point where they can just play, right? Like, because, you get that break where if you could ever get to the point, you hate to say it, to where all of your players have had COVID or had to deal with it, you've got a 3 or 4 month window to where you can kind of play if you can. And I think with State now coming out of their second pause, that's maybe where they're at.
Yeah. Well, like you were just saying about the ACC tournament, it's going to be weird. Like you're going to have a team that's probably like 1-6 or 2-4.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like with the Big Ten. Maryland is 2-3 overall, and then you got Penn State 0-3. It's like, okay, who's going to be picking who?
Yeah, I don't know what you do. For instance, I was watching North Carolina play Wake Forest tonight, and I mean both of those teams are one's played 5 games, one's played 6. I saw Florida State the other day. I think they played 3. So, it's just I don't know if they're going to be able to make up a lot of these games. It's funny you mentioned that because I remember early in the summer, I don't know if you remember, several of the ACC coaches talked about making everybody eligible for the NCAA tournament. And this was kind of the exact reason they were giving, was because with there being so much uncertainty in terms of finishing out seasons, just make it a deal where everybody's going to be in the tournament. You play as many games as you can. You stretch the tournament out, give everybody a chance, but you also take away a lot of that subjectivity they're going to be facing now, trying to figure out who should be in or who shouldn't, because I think it's going to be tough trying to figure out who should really make the tournament or who shouldn't this year.
Yeah, well, I think I saw something on ESPN the other day. Like Indiana in 1942 only had 13 games.
Right.
So you might have a team that had only played 13 games to playing 20 games.
Right.
That's like college football. We just got done with Ohio State with 6 games and Clemson had 12 games. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and so it's tough. Nuts. I mean, yeah, it's tough. Like, because I think you can see there's a competitive advantage, I think, to only having played 6 games, right? I mean, there's an advantage to that. You risk less injury. I mean, if you're pretty much gifted into that event without playing 6 more games, I mean, you look at Clemson, for instance, they had several players who were knocked out for various games or for the rest of the season because they played a 10, 11, 12-game schedule. So I think that's where the subjectivity comes in and what makes it a little difficult in trying to separate these teams.
Yeah. Well, besides basketball, what sport do you cover during the spring? Do you do baseball as well?
Yeah, we do everything. We do baseball. We do obviously I talked about it. We do women's basketball. NC State right now is number 2 in the country in women's basketball. Football will have spring practice, so we'll do a lot of football stuff also. It just depends on to the level with COVID. We really don't know what type of availability. I know some of your other guests have probably mentioned it in the past. I mean, availability now is just completely different on the media side than it's ever been. I mean, we're pretty much relegated to Zoom calls and those types of interactions to where there's no more really going to practices and different things like that. It's funny you mentioned that because I was talking with the SID from NC State basketball about the Carolina game this week, and he asked, he's talking about how the seats were limited in terms of media availability. And I just kind of asked him, I'm like, well, really, at the end of the day, what's the point? Like you're going to just sit in the stadium and you can't interview anybody afterwards. Everything's done over Zoom. They keep you away from the court. So it's almost like, what's the point of making the drive into dealing with all that, right? And that's just kind of how it's happened. And I'm interested on the media side to figure out or see how colleges handle this once the pandemic's over. Like some of them may just say, let's continue to do this because for their coaches and players, it's relatively easier.
Right, exactly. And the way they set the chairs up, it looks like one of those, like it used to be in a row. Now it's like, okay, and they have their names on it. It's like back in the old days, they didn't have their name on it. It was like, just sit there after the guy comes in,
Right.
Like, crazy. Yeah, I just feel like with this whole COVID thing, like you just said, I haven't gone to any games since last March because I have a girlfriend I'm living with my girlfriend has a bad immune system, and I don't want to get her sick if I go to a game. And like you said, they're going to put us up in upper deck, away from everybody. And it's like, why waste my gas? I can just stay home and do the Zoom call after the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really see the point in it. Like I said, I mean, knock on wood, me and my family, we've been lucky to where we made it this far and just now came in contact with COVID, but everybody's healthy. And so, we're pretty blessed with that. But yeah, it's dangerous, and you're right. It almost reaches a point of is it worth the risk of traveling to go watch a game in a stadium where you just Zoom from the press box seat? What's the point at the end of the day?
Right. And plus now, with like you and I are, I know you're probably a bigger publication than I am. You probably get the special, get a pass and go. Me, I'm like, they tell you like, sorry, we can't get you a pass, but here's the link for you. Like, why waste my time? It's like with the ACC championship game. I normally come down to Charlotte, spend time with my friend, do the game, and come home and all that stuff. This year, I just told Kevin Best, like, just send me the link. I'm not coming down.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
it makes sense. It makes sense. I've got writers who still want to go cover games, and I let them go. I sent a writer down to NC State's bowl game this year in Jacksonville, and was it Jacksonville? They played Kentucky, and I'm sitting here thinking day of the game, I'm like, what was the point in this? He's going to drive. He's driving from Raleigh to Jacksonville, Florida, to just sit there, watch the game in the press box, and then turn around and leave.
Right.
It's like, but he wanted to do it. And, with us not having a lot of traveling this year, obviously we had the budget to where I could do it. So we did it. But you're right. At the end of the day, I don't really know what you're gaining from covering games in person right now.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope you feel better. I hope everybody there in your house is getting better. I hope we'll see some basketball next week. Maybe we'll find out Monday on the Zoom call what's going on, that ACC Zoom call. But,
right.
Well, good luck this weekend. Hopefully, if there is a game with North Carolina, that's going to be a great game because you guys played them, beginning of the ACC schedule?
Yeah, that was, I think, State's first win of the ACC schedule. They were able to beat them at home, and so get a chance to maybe sweep UNC. Obviously, for NC State fans, that's a big deal if they can do that this year.
And then that'll be really good for Coach Keats, who has CA ties. He was with NC Wilmington, and he brought them, to a good school until they brought somebody else in and didn't do a good job.
Yeah, they've got Takeo there now, who was, he was on staff with Kevin, and he's there. He's a first year head coach at UNCW. I think he's going to do a good job there.
Exactly. Well, they just lost 2 straight to Towson here because Towson, like everybody else, is playing makeup games. So they're playing games like Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's like that's unheard of for basketball in college. That's like the NBA.
Right.
So
it's good for them in.
Yeah. Well, I hope to get you on before the ACC men's tournament, if we have a men's tournament, and we'll preview NC State and see how they do.
Let's do it. Sounds good.
All right, man. Have a great rest of your evening, and I hope you get well soon.
Thanks, brother. Take care now.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye. All right. That's James Henderson, who is the works for North Carolina in-state this evening. If you want to vote right now, go online. We are trying to cover the bowl game, the ACC, the championship weekend for the NFL. Go to the website, go to our Twitter page right now as we speak, and you could vote right now of which 2 teams will be playing in the Super Bowl on February 7th, Super Bowl 55. So go to our Twitter page and pick the polling question. You can see right there, it's Kansas City and Tampa. Or if you want to see KC and Tampa Bay with a rematch in their own Tampa Bay in their home stadium. KC versus Green Bay. That's going to be a great game. Or Green Bay versus Buffalo, or Tampa Bay versus Buffalo. So make sure you vote now. Speaking of this weekend, we'll be getting somebody at 8:40. Dean Marlowe, who is a former JMU defensive end, who is playing for the Buffalo Bills right now in the NFL. Spent a cup of coffee with Carolina, so we're hoping for him to join us at 8:40. So let's just we got some time to kill here. Let's give you some news and notes around the. Let's play the town. The Penn State hockey team is playing tomorrow. They're going to be playing a 2-game series against Wisconsin in the Big Ten hockey. So here is I had a chance to talk to Kevin Wall, a sophomore player for the Penn State hockey. So here is my little Q&A with him. Hey, Kevin, thanks for taking my question for you. Talk about this weekend, this Thursday and Friday against Wisconsin. What do you see preparing and ready for those 2 games?
Yeah, obviously, playing them early on the year, I think we're a different team than when we played them, and I think they are as well. So I think, we just got to keep to what we're doing right now. I think we had 2 really good wins this past weekend, and I think we still have yet to play our best hockey, and I think everyone in the room knows that. So, we're going to have a good week of practice and harp on some things and get better at some other stuff. And I think that if we just keep playing the way we're playing and just pucks on net and get guys to the front of the net, I think we're going to see a lot of good chances and some good results.
All right, folks. That's Penn State men's hockey 2-game series against Wisconsin tomorrow afternoon up there in State College. Let's talk college basketball. Maryland last night was in Michigan and taking on the number 7 ranked Michigan Wolverines, and it wasn't pretty for Maryland fans. Maryland was basically ran out of the gym there in Ann Arbor after the game, losing to Michigan for the second time this year. So Michigan swept the series after Michigan beat the Terps in College Park on December 31st. So here's Coach Mark Turgeon talking about what happened, playing against Michigan and what he has to do, get better this weekend against Minnesota.
Give them credit. They were dialed in and pressured us out of everything, and we weren't tough enough to fight through that and take what the defense gives you. So it's frustrating night, but you got to give them a lot of credit. They're really, really good.
Start off tonight with.
Yeah, they were just good. It wasn't any DeJuan Howard got rolling. Now here after he's in his second season in Michigan. So anyway, so that's what happened in college basketball. And then last night, Syracuse beat Miami in Syracuse, 83-57. Let's play a quick highlight from that.
This one big time. A season high in points for Girard and Boeheim with 23 apiece in an 83-57 victory for the Syracuse Orange tonight.
All right, folks. Thanks for the folks there at the ACC giving us the opportunities for that clip. This afternoon, I had a chance to talk to Ryan Harris. Yes, Ryan Harris used to play NFL football for the Denver Broncos. He won Super Bowl 50, and now he's spending some time in Colorado as a sports broadcaster. And on the weekends, he flies to South Bend, Indiana, to do Notre Dame football. So I had the privilege to talk to him this afternoon by the video phone here. Talk about what's it like being named 2020 Colorado Sports Broadcaster of the Year. So this is part 1 of 2. So we'll try to play the second part later in the show. But right now, here is part 1 with Ryan Harris. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special interview. Ryan Harris, who covers Notre Dame football, but he's actually this year he won the Colorado Sportscaster of the Year award from the National Broadcasters Association. So, Ryan, thanks for joining us. Just talk about winning that award. What does that mean for you? Because you used to play football, and how did you start getting into broadcasting?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Chris. And, for me, it was an award I didn't really know about. and it's a reward that it's an award that is voted on by your peers. So that meant a lot to me that enough of the people nationwide who I know saw my name and cast a vote. So that was really cool. And it's also really cool as an African American to be the first African American to win this award in the state of Colorado in a year when we did sports and had such a massive social change. So I'm very grateful, and I'm appreciative of the award and what it means.
That's cool. So, like I said, how did you start getting into broadcasting? Because I know your backstory. You used to play football for the Broncos, won Super Bowl 50, and did you get like that bug like Peyton Manning's doing and started making your little production companies and all that stuff? Or how did you get involved?
Well, it really started as a young kid with KFAN in St. Paul, Minnesota, and just to be, and I listened to, you know, PA and Dubé back in the day, and I was a huge fan. And Paul Allen's been a great person in my life and a great mentor to me. And, you know, one of the things I looked at when I was leaving football, you know, one, what can I do with sweatpants on? And radio fits that, you know. But also, you know, I wanted to humanize and educate people about the game they love, you know, and to explain the difference between effort and discipline, to explain the different pieces that a player needs, to explain how a response like Drew Lock, the quarterback of the Broncos, you know, he said he felt comfortable this year in the offense. Well, he threw 16 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. You can't be comfortable there, you know. And so I like to bring that aspect to it, and especially with my Notre Dame work, just put as much emphasis on the unique kids that go to Notre Dame. You guys like Jerry Tillery, who, you know, could speak Japanese that he learned at Notre Dame in addition to being a first-round pick. So these are all things that I love doing and that I thought I could bring some value in.
Yeah, let's talk about Notre Dame. I know Brian Kelly was very upset after the loss to Alabama. He tore me a new one, so I got to, you know, being a broadcaster, I got to learn to do my homework better. But, you know, just talk about that game against Alabama. It just seems like Alabama is just up here and everybody's down here.
Well, I thought Notre Dame defensively did as well as you could ask for. Really, to me, the game turned on that interception in the third quarter. And what's tough is that Ian Book typically didn't make those plays. And to just further look at, when you look at Coach Kelly's career at Notre Dame, one of the most successful, he's going to surpass next year Newt Rockne for most wins. The big game, the signature win, has eluded him. And I don't know whether that's in the process or what, but I can tell you from watching, especially offensively in that Alabama game, it looked like there was just a slight hesitation on that offense. You cannot hesitate in big games. Right. It is imperative that you strike first, strike often. And I don't know whether that's, you know, preparing and giving a lot for players to think about. But one of the best coaches I ever had, Coach, you know, Gary Kubiak, who won the Super Bowl, he said, listen, before every game, he would say, listen, man, play fast. There are no mistakes today. If there are mistakes on the field, that's on us as coaches because we didn't get you prepared. Play fast, let your personalities out, and let's go have some fun. I mean, that's a way to play free, and I don't know.
All right, folks, that's a little part of my interview with Ryan Harris. We'll play mostly more later in the show. So, 2015. So we're waiting for Dean Marlowe to join us. Hopefully, he'll join us here shortly. Poll question on our Twitter page. If you want to, write down, pick who you want to see in the Super Bowl, go to our Twitter page at HerbFM and vote now. You'll see. You have to see this thing to vote now. Vote now, and you'll get yourself an opportunity to vote. And we'll see who's going to. Right now, it looks like Green Bay and Buffalo will be playing in Tampa in 2 weeks. Tampa and Buffalo in second, and no votes for Tampa Bay and Kansas City or Kansas City and Green Bay. They don't want to rematch of Super Bowl I. That's weird. Folks, thanks for joining us here on the program. Coming up at hopefully at 8:40, we'll have Dean Marlowe to join us he plays for the Buffalo Bills. Bills coming off a big win last weekend, beating the local team, the Baltimore Ravens, up there in Orchard Park, and now they have to travel to Kansas City to take on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending champs. And here is Dean. Hopefully we get him here. There's Dean. Let's get Dean on the program here. So, hi, Dean. How you doing? Can you hear me?
I can't really hear you. You're kind of like breaking up and kind of staticky.
But I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
You're still staticky.
Still staticky. Okay. Let me try to read myself back and forth here. Hold on. All right. I don't know. Is that better?
No, you're still staticky. I can hear you saying like, "Is that better?" But like it's like completely staticky. That makes sense.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm sorry. On my end, it sounds pretty clear. You're clear. You're clear. Perfect. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
All right. All right.
Yep.
All right, Dean. Thanks for joining us, Dean. I hope I said your last name right. Marlowe, right?
Yep.
Yes, and you're up there in Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills going into Kansas City this weekend to play Kansas City Chiefs for the AFC Championship game. How nervous are you right now? Because I know last week you had a big game against Baltimore, and your defense literally controlled Lamar Jackson.
I don't think we're nervous at all. I think we're just, we're excited about everything that has to come, especially it being the AFC Championship. We're facing a great opponent. And we got to just play our style of football and just go out and have fun and play together and just, obviously play to win.
Yeah, you played Kansas City earlier this year with nobody there up in Orchard Park. That game was moved around because of COVID and all that stuff. That was like, a Monday night, 5:00 game up there. How different was that game? Yeah. Playing Patrick Mahomes. Was it Monday? It was weird. It was a weird week.
Yeah. It was a weird week. Game. Yeah, because it was supposed to be a Thursday night game, and then we played that Tuesday prior against the Titans, so that game had to be pushed back to Monday night. But I mean, once again, we played a great team. Great quarterback, great offense, great defense, great special teams, great coaching staff that they have. We fell short of what we wanted, and now we have time, to redeem ourselves and play them twice.
Yeah. Well, you come from JMU University down there in Harrisonburg. I have a house in Massanutten, so it's basically a second home for me. What was it like going down to JMU down there, 81? To me, I call it's Walt Disney World on 81. It's like bright as anything. Lights. They updated everything. What was it like playing there from 2010 to 2014 or 15 when you got drafted?
Yeah, so it was great. I never regret the decision I made. Coming from New York City, being a northern guy going to school in the southern part of Virginia, and I loved every minute of it. I just, I grew as a player, grew as a person. Loved the school, loved the student body. Just loved the atmosphere during the football games and all sporting events. And I couldn't chose to go to a better school.
Yeah, it's a very good school. I love the football team, and you guys, you have a new coach. Coach Sigonelli is the head coach now. But what was your coach? Was it? Did you have any
Mickey Matthews was my coach from 2010 to 2013, and then I had Everett Withers in 2014. Okay.
Well, talk about the difference between those guys. I know Mickey Matthews. I talked to him a lot, and he seems like a down-home guy. He could have a press conference in the dairy section, and Everett Withers, who came in after Matthews got fired, and seems like he had a whole different type of agenda.
Yeah, so Mickey Matthews, he recruited me. I was a tall, lanky, skinny kid from Queens, New York, and he found me, and I think he was from Texas, and he brought me in and told me that I had a lot of good things headed in my future. Great guy, very down to earth, very family oriented. He did everything for his players. Put us in the best position possible for us to be successful, just not only on the field, but off the field. I wish I can still keep in contact with him, to this day, but I haven't at all. And then, when he got fired, it's a part of the business, and, in the Division I football, leagues and stuff like that, everything, things happen. And when Everett Withers, came over, I met him, and he was coming from Ohio State. And, he kind of changed, the things, different culture, different just philosophies that we used. And, just every coach, every player, has their own thing that they do. And, everyone bought into what Everett Withers had going on. And, that year, I think we finished 9-4, and we lost to Liberty in the playoffs. I remember that. And, I still kept in contact, with Withers throughout my years in the league, because he actually coached for the Giants, their defensive backs, I think last year. And I think now he just got the job at FIU as a defensive coordinator. So, I still keep in contact with him, still talk to him here and there. But, both excellent coaches, wanted their players to succeed, just obviously not only on the field, but off the field as well.
Yeah, that's cool. That's great. Yeah, it's always good to talk to somebody to help you out during your college days, and still you still have them to pick something off their brain. If you see something or they see something on TV, they call you like, "Hey, Dean, next time you got to be man to man with a guy, or don't bump into him, or all that stuff."
Yeah, right.
That's awesome. Yeah, I want to applaud you guys in Buffalo. You guys are having a great season up there. It seems like it's turning around. It feels like 1995 all over again with Jim Kelly and all those guys. And now it's the new Bills. And I want to wish you good luck on Sunday night, and hopefully you could go to the Super Bowl.
Yes, that'll be great. I mean, what we're doing for the city of Buffalo is amazing. There isn't a better fan base, I believe, in the whole league, but than Bills Mafia. I mean, they've been ecstatic about the season we've had, the two home playoff games that we've had. I mean, we've had 6,700 fans there, and they sound like 67,000. It's been insane. The city's been going crazy. They love what we're doing, and we just have to keep doing this for them.
Yeah. Real quick, the Bills Mafia, are they true, really nice people? Because they did something nice to Lamar Jackson and donated that money to his charity. And it's been all around here.
They're awesome people. I mean, you're not gonna get people like that, really in this world that donate to Josh Allen's grandmother who passed to the hospital, over $1 million. Then you got Lamar Jackson's charity that they donated over $400,000 to, and then also, I mean, in 2017. When we had made the playoffs, they donated to Andy Dalton's charity. And it's just like, Bills Mafia is just a really unique group of people that really, really care and have a lot of consideration, not just, for the fan base, but for other people.
Exactly. Well, folks, if you want to watch Dean and the rest of the Bills, Sunday night, 6:40 is probably kickoff, right? Right after the NFC title game. And you might face your old friend Brady. You never know.
Right. You never know.
Yeah. Well, have a safe trip to Kansas City, and good luck. And we'll be watching here in Baltimore, and we'll be pulling for you.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
All right. You have a good one.
Right. You too. All right, folks. That's Dean Marlowe, who was former starter for JMU's defense. He was back before Mike Houston showed up. So that's pretty interesting stories about him. Thanks for the folks at the Buffalo Bills PR department that set that right here on the program. 8:49, and you're wondering, where are the guys who helped me out? Well, one person is doing was supposed to be eating dinner. I don't know what he's doing right now, but it's family time. And one is playing realty. And this guy is Ewan. Uski will be joining us hopefully at the 9 o'clock hour when we talk to Johnny Halliday and the bowler, and Ken DeGraff, who is the bowling coach at Mount St. Mary's out there in Emmitsburg, Maryland. They are finally kicking off their bowling season after last year they were very good, and all of a sudden the COVID-19 came and everybody plugged, and everybody went home their separate ways, and 'cause a lot of girls are, a lot of women bowlers were trying to figure out what to do, and they're back getting ready to bowl in a short Baker's format this weekend up in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. So that's really interesting. So and we're waiting for good friend Jacob Buckriff, who from the Professional Bowlers Tour. Speaking of bowling, folks, if you wanna watch bowling before the NSC title game, fire over to Fox Sports 1 on Sunday, January 24th. It's actually a very popular birthday that day. Some guy named Neil Diamond was born. Have you ever heard of him? Anyway, that's his birthday on the 24th of January. Anyway, you could tune into on Fox Sports 1 at noon. It will be the West Region live from Bowler, Jupiter, in Jupiter, Florida. That's where they're going to have all the events this year for the Professional Bowlers Tour. The PBA Players Championship, that's what's going on. And Jacob bowled last week in the Western Regional out there in Arizona and qualified third. So he'll be on TV, and if you want to, hopefully he'll join us shortly here on the program. Next week we'll be back here on the program, January 27th. We'll be at 8 o'clock. We'll keep plugging along, talking college basketball, maybe some more ACC talk. We'll see who went to the Super Bowl. Hopefully we'll see who will be making the trip to Tampa. Tampa Bay taking on Tampa's playing Green Bay this weekend, so that's going to be a very interesting game. It's supposed to snow in Green Bay, so I talked to Gene Deckenhoff today. We'll play that in the 9 o'clock hour. We have time, or we're going to do something over the weekend. So if you want to get to HerbFM Sports, you could go on there and send a look at what's going on this weekend. If you have any questions, concerns, if you want to send us an email us at herbfmradio@gmail.com, or text us right now at 443-567-0746. If you have a question about anything, anything going on in your land, if you have a question about about who you want to pick in the Super Bowl, or we here at the station might do a black pool, but we do not condone gambling. But somebody likes gambling. But we we want to make sure that you guys play responsibly. Okay, don't take all your rent money and go, oops, can't pay rent. So anyway, we're waiting for Jacob to join us hopefully shortly. And then at 9 o'clock we got our good friend Johnny Holiday, who is the voice in this area of Maryland Terrapin basketball and football. A good friend of ours here at the station, who I got a chance to meet a couple of years ago. It was very nice to sit down and have lunch with the gentleman who basically started his career, get this, as a broadcaster for music disc jockey. So we're going to talk to him about that shortly on the program here. So it's 8:53 here on a Wednesday night here on or 8:54 wherever you are. Thanks for joining us here. Georgia Tech just beat Clemson down there in Atlanta, so big win for Josh Painter and the Yellow Jackets. Michael DeVoe with 22 points in the win, 6 for 6 for 3-point land tonight. So that's a big win for Georgia Tech, who knocked off Kentucky and North Carolina at the same time this season. That's pretty good and awesome. So we'll see what's going on here. So we are ready for Jacob here. Did he get his link? Did he get the link? So 1 second here. We got the link. Did you get the link? So thanks for joining us here on the program. We're going to wait for Jacob to join us here. So it's a very great time here on the program. Happy, this morning watching the inauguration of Biden. That was pretty interesting to see. So we're going to wait for Jacob to join us. Hopefully I gave him the link. So, but in the meantime, we will get some music on here real quick. Hopefully we got something we can use. One second, see, we'll be right back. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. We have our good friend Jacob Clutcher. Hey, Jacob, how you doing? Happy New Year. How's everything there in your neck of woods? I just want to say sorry for the loss of your mother. How's everything going?
Yeah, everything's going good. Obviously, you got the Players Championship this past weekend, and did pretty well. Got the TV show under my belt, so flying out Friday morning to Florida to go and win $250,000.
Nice. Yeah, talk about this new format because these people like me, I'm like, it's pretty cool. It's broken into regions. So you're in the Western region. So you go to on Sunday on Fox Sports 1 at 12 noon Eastern time, and it's just basically a normal stepladder final, right?
Right. So, like, out of the 5 regions, we were the only live show, and everything's gonna be ended up taping this week, and then the winner from each show will end up going to the main show. We'll end up going to the main show back to Jupiter, Florida, in late February.
Okay, cool. All right, so that sounds like a neat thing they're doing there. So, did you see anybody you haven't bowled with before, and like just show up at one of the regionals, and you're like at the Western Division, you're like, I haven't seen you bowl in a while.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like, I mean, for the Western region, like I told people that, a lot of guys out of the West Coast, not a lot of people know them because we had like all of our tour events back east, but there's a lot of talent out here. A guy that bowled really well was PJ Haggerty. A lot of people don't know who he is in today's game, but PJ was actually a 2-time All-American at Fresno State back in college, and he was a very successful college bowler in the mid-2000s. So I knew he was gonna be up on the top of the list among competitors, along with David Haynes, Landon Carnati, a couple local guys here that bowled pretty well over the 28 games. So you just never know. Like on top of all the PBA or like all the stars that, they expect Tobulga. Like, a lot of people were shocked seeing Jason Belmonte not even cash in the tournament.
Yeah, I saw that too. I was looking at the who finished what. I'm like, wow, he didn't even cash. And is that hard for somebody to come over from he has to travel 24 hours pretty much to Arizona or wherever we're bowling? And I feel like that's a disadvantage for him because he has to get himself acclimated to the clock.
Yeah, I think it's definitely frustrating. Well, and I find it I thought it was hard to believe at first that Jason told me after he got done, he actually flew back the next day back home, and I just thought it was crazy because of the fact that we still got all the tournaments that are coming up in February as well. So he's going to be going back home, and I know they have to quarantine once they get back to Australia. The other Australian, Sam Cooley, is actually staying at my house for the next couple months to bowl all the tournaments.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So you have somebody there to keep you company, so you don't no wild parties.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, talk about going down to Jupiter, Florida. Everything this year is going to be in one spot for the PBA because they're trying to do like a bubble thing. Like last summer, they did that with the the strike derby and all that stuff. It worked really well. I think it's great that they're trying to make that one place for everybody to be in.
Yeah, so we were down there for the tour finals back in July, and so they're going over the COVID restrictions, trying to make sure that we're safe and in the bowling environment, like we're not allowing fans. So it definitely gets pretty quiet when we're bowling on TV set, something we weren't used to up until last March, and it definitely.
Yeah, he'll be still there. Yeah.
Yeah, service is a little spotty, but also
yeah, okay.
I think I'm kind of like.
Yeah, folks, he's still his internet. You got to say live broadcast. So that's Jacob. He's Buck Griff, who a good friend of ours here on the program. We got a chance to know him real well a couple years ago. So hopefully his internet will be working soon. So hopefully Jacob will be back here on the program. It's 9:02 Eastern time. We're waiting for hopefully Jacob to get back on real quick before Johnny Holiday was joining us. So we'll talk Kurt's basketball and football and his broadcast career, and then we'll finish up with the women's bowling head coach of the Mount out there in Emmitsburg, Virginia, Emmitsburg, Maryland. So let me just pull him off, and we'll sit here and wait for him to pop back on. So, folks, if you're tuning in to us, thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Seidel, one half of the Uski and Herbie show, and George Bashir was joining us, but I think he has some family time. He'll be joining us hopefully next week here on the program. So, folks, if you want to vote right now, go on to our Twitter page. Let's go down here to our Twitter page. Go to which two teams would you like to see in the Super Bowl on February 7th? Go now to our page at HerbFM and on Twitter and send us a tweet. And we'll probably get Jacob on next week, probably because of the internet spotty down there. Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully we'll get him on shortly. He's having problems with the internet the last couple of days here. So anyway, so go to HerbFM on Twitter and vote now. Let's see who else is somebody in here. Is it working? And try. We'll get him on the video side. Let me call you. So hold on a second. Let's get back to the. We'll play some continuing some music here. So hold on. All right. All right, folks. Welcome back to the program here. We got the voice of Maryland basketball and football with us, Johnny Holiday, joining us via phone. We're doing the old ESPN thing with the picture up and with the name on the bottom there, Johnny. So, so thanks.
You got to improvise, right, Chris?
Exactly. We have to. It's just what we have a low budget program, but anyway. But thanks so much for joining us. Just talk about being a sportscaster of the year. This is your third year winning this, third time winning it. So what's it like winning it a third time? What was it like winning it the first time?
I think it's very nice, Chris, that even you be recognized once, because it comes from guys you work with in the business, and that means an awful lot when you have respect from other people. And the first time was pretty exciting and pretty shocking, I guess. I don't particularly think I'm worthy of any kind of awards, to be very honest with you. And when I got the first one a couple of years ago, I was really, really happy, because Bob Carpenter got one the same year. And we were doing the Nationals. I was doing the pregame show, and he was doing the play-by-play. So for two of us to go down to Salisbury, North Carolina for the event was really nice, really, really nice. And I thought it was really terrific, and met a lot of people that I knew in the business. Hadn't seen a lot of people in a lot of years. And then the second time around was pretty shocking. And this time around is more shocking than the first two. It's very, very nice. It's a humbling experience and a recognition that I really appreciate. And especially, as I mentioned earlier, it's voted upon by your friends in the business.
Exactly. Yeah, I was just doing some. People don't know you, like I do. I know you and I have been friends for a very long time, but you were a disc jockey before you were a sports broadcaster. And I want to ask you, you were out in San Francisco in 1965, and there's some band called the Beatles were out there in Candlestick Park. Talk to the folks here on our program. What was it like introducing a band like the Beatles? It's almost like introducing almost like a former, like a leader of a free world or something like that.
Well, just four guys from London trying to make a living, and they made a pretty good living in the United States. And it was pretty interesting, because at the time, Chris, we didn't know that it was going to be the last concert by those guys together as a group, last in-person concert. And Candlestick Park was not sold out. There was only, I think, maybe 25,000 people there. Tickets were $6 a piece. That was the highest price ticket, was $6 to get a good seat. They did about 35, 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. And sitting in the clubhouse of the Giants with the guys, just like you and I are talking now, and thinking nothing of it, just four guys that were, we're making a mark in the United States with unusual sound, unusual performances, and kind of funny haircuts, and too much about it. Mm-hmm. And they did their concert, and they left, and we said, okay, that's fine. And then we found out later on, it's going to be the last time they're going to perform together as a group. And it was quite special. And just, they were nice guys. I met them in New York a year before I went to San Francisco. Mm-hmm. So I met them when they came over from London in 1964. And I was struck by how nice they were, how down-to-earth they were, and that they really had something magical as far as music was concerned. And they were going to really make a mark here in the United States with that kind of music, especially seeing the reaction of all the kids and how they just flocked to anything they do. Mm-hmm. They were just, you had to turn kids away, and you had to have security, and it was pretty much, it was like an Elvis Presley type thing. When Presley hit, the people went crazy around the country. And the same thing with these guys. When they came to the States, everybody went wild about them. And it was a real thrill to do that. And it's interesting, Chris, I've forgotten about that over the years. And I was talking to somebody doing a little interview with me, and I forgot to tell him about that. And the guy calls me, he says, so you introduced the last Beatles concert? I said, oh, that's right, yeah. He said, what do you mean that's right, you forgot it? I said, yeah, basically I did. Right. Because I introduced a lot of concerts, Johnny and Cher and the Four Seasons, and Neil Diamond. So it was really no big deal. It was just one more group you're introducing.
Yeah.
And I really had forgotten about it.
Yeah, speaking of Neil Diamond, because I'm a big Neil Diamond fan. My mom and I are like huge Neil Diamond fans. There's a story that my mom said to me: if you ever bring Neil Diamond to a studio, I'll be the first one driving 95 miles an hour up 95, and I'll probably get 6,000 speeding tickets because I would like to meet the guy. And
you know what Neil Diamond did, Chris? When I was in New York and a disc jockey at 1010 Wins in New York, a 50,000 watt station, and we had a charity basketball team I put together, and we went around New York and Connecticut and New Jersey and Rhode Island, and we played high school faculty, so we gave them all the money, and he never played a game with us, but Neil Diamond practiced with us when he just started off in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to be good friends with him when I was in New York, and the station I was with switched to all news, so everybody at our station was out on the streets, basically.
Yeah.
So I took a job in San Francisco, and he said, I'm going to be out there in 3 weeks. I said, oh, really? Do me a favor. I got a pair of shoes coming in to McCready and Schreiber. Would you mind picking up the pair of shoes? They'll be in next week, but I'm going to be in San Francisco, and maybe you can bring them out. Neil Diamond delivers my shoes to me.
Nice. That's awesome.
Nicest guy you ever. Your mom's got good taste because she would love him.
Because Neil Diamond is, I just talk about Neil Diamond, and then it's funny. I see some with Kenny Rogers, passed away. Neil Diamond knew Kenny Rogers. I think Glenn Campbell somehow was part of Neil Diamond's band, or whatever. It's fascinating seeing all the things put into play.
Yeah, that's right. You're exactly right. Yeah, good guy, really a good guy.
Yeah, and it's sad that he has Parkinson's. I was really upset that when he stopped touring. I was like, I saw him 4 years ago. Before that, down in D.C., my brother Will, surprised me with floor tickets, and he goes, "You want to go see?" And he tricked me pretty well, real quick. This is a quick story. He goes, "You want to go to a Chinese restaurant?" I'm like, "Okay, where do you want to go?" D.C. I'm like, "Why are we driving all the way to D.C. for a Chinese restaurant?" He goes, "Well, we just felt like going down there. We lived in Bel Air at the time." So I'm like, okay, we'll go down there. So he's like, oh, my car's not working. So I'm driving around the Capitol Center or the Capital One Arena, whatever they call it now. And I go, oh, it's Neil Diamond there. And he goes, oh, that's pretty cool. I was like, yeah. I was like, maybe they have like buy one, get one free, and the other one gets an aspirin or something like that. I was making funny jokes, because I was having fun with it. And then like 5 minutes later, he goes, hey, we're not here for Chinese restaurant. Here's 2 floor tickets because I want you to be happy. I'm sitting there going, what? So I was literally like excited. My mom knew about it, and she kept it for me for 3 days.
I saw him when he came, and he sang a song Nationals Park a couple years ago,
mm-hmm.
and so I saw him before. I hadn't seen him since 1965, I guess, and I figured he's never going to remember me. And so before he came out on the field to sing the song, I said, hey, Neil, Johnny Holiday. He said, wait. New York? I said, San Francisco. And you brought me, he said, a pair of shoes. I said, oh, you remember that? He said, yeah, because I've never, since that time, bought anybody a pair of shoes.
Wow, that's awesome. Nice.
You're the only guy.
Nice. Real quick, I know last night you went out to Michigan to watch the men's team. They're struggling right now. What do they got to do to turn everything around? Because I know the Big Ten is, a very good conference, and I just feel like with all this COVID going around, I think a lot of people are on the same page, or somebody's not doing what.
Well, I think it's quite obvious this is not the same team as last year. You don't have any Jalen Smith, you don't have any Anthony Cowan, so you're basically missing a true point guard. And you're missing a true center. And if Maryland fans remember, which I'm sure they probably don't, that last year in the NBA draft, the only guy to come out early, a big guy, a big center, was Jalen Smith. Nobody else from the Big Ten lost a center that came out early like Jalen did. That's a big, big loss. Michigan is a very tough place to play. They're number 7 for a reason. And if you don't play your absolute best
Yeah.
And I think the biggest, maybe not problem, but I think one of the biggest challenges this team has, Chris, is sometimes there's a tendency to get really down if you get behind early and you dig yourself a hole. Last night it was 8-0. It was 17-4. Then you're down by 20 at halftime. And you start the second half and they get the ball, they hit a three. Now you're down by 23. And you can see the body language drop enormously.
Wow.
And you can't do that. Now they've beaten two top 15 teams in Wisconsin and Illinois. And you beat them on the road. Consistency is killing this team. They're just not consistent. Mark Turpin's trying to keep their spirits up, number one. And I think it's awfully tough for these kids this year. Not only Maryland, but I think in the entire country because of the coronavirus situation. They're not with their friends. They're not with their classmates. They're with nothing but their teammates all the time. They see nobody. They have no outside life. It's a very, very tough environment to be in. And I think they ought to be applauded for, doing the best they can under adverse conditions. It's not going to be the same team as last year. And I tell people that, either you stick with them or you bail on them, one of the two.
Right, exactly.
And I think right now they got a lot of support. They need support from the coaches, which Mark says, we had a show tonight on radio, and he said one of the things about being a coach, there's that fine line you got between being tough on and being compassionate and understanding and backing off a little bit. And he said, this is a team that's pretty fragile.
Yeah.
And when they get whipped last night, he said, you got to keep their spirits up. You go to work tomorrow, you tell them to forget about what happened. And, Minnesota beat them up pretty good the week before.
Yeah.
So they're ready to play last night, and Maryland wasn't ready to play at all.
Right, exactly. Well, and also,
if that answers your question.
Yeah, and also it's tough with nobody in the stands. They're so used to last year with people.
And you know something, there is no home court advantage. We talked about the fact that Michigan won 10 straight at home. They won 11 straight going back to last year. And then you think about what happened here at Maryland when we played them so well, and they were in that game. But it's tough to duplicate that in back-to-back games against a single opponent.
Right, exactly. Well, Johnny, I know you were a busy guy. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. I know you just got done with Mark Turgeon, and you got to go back on the road. I think the game's Friday night, right? You got to go back to Minnesota.
Once again, Saturday you go to Minnesota.
Right.
Now you face a team that beat Michigan in their last game. They got a 6-foot center, and it's going to be another challenge. But, I always go into a game, Chris, saying these guys are going to surprise you. They're going to pull their tails off. But they don't have a big guy. They don't have an inside presence, and I think a lot of times when they walk on that floor and they see the Hunter Dickinsons, they see the Luka Garzas, they see these big guys, and they get deflated early. So the same thing will happen on Saturday. But, they beat Minnesota last year up there in a last-second shot by Morcell. So stranger things have happened.
Exactly. Well, enjoy your rest of your evening. Safe travels to Minnesota, and thank you so much for taking some time tonight. And it was great to hear a Neil Diamond story that I could pass along to my mother.
If your mother needs shoes, a little bit of shoes to her.
I'll tell her that, if she needs anything.
All right, Chris.
All right, thank you so much.
You bet. Take care.
All right, see you. Bye. All right, folks, that's the voice of Maryland Terrapin football and basketball. Yeah, and that's a really interesting story about him and Neil Diamond. So we'll talk to Neil Diamond later. Right now, we're going to finish up the show here. We're running a little behind. We have Ken DeGraff, the bowling coach for Mount. This is the Mount bowling team getting ready to start something up here in 2021. So, Ken, thanks for joining us. You guys haven't bowled since the last time I saw you in Towson. I think that was the last tournament, right?
Yeah, we competed 1 week after that as well, but basically about that much time. It's been, I counted it a couple days ago, 47 weeks since we've last competed, and now we're just a couple days away, as long as we, like any team that's competing collegiately, get through the test all negative, which we feel confident that we're doing our job to do so. But, it's hard to believe that it's about here. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, well, talk about this. It's a 4-team tournament. You got Coppin State, Morgan State, you guys, and I think one more. I think Delaware State, all going up to Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. To bowl in is a Saturday, a Baker's match, and then on Sunday the traditional tournament. So just talk about how your girls are ready to smack some pins and enjoy themselves.
Yeah, it's a small tournament, 4 teams. This same tournament last year, Chris, we had 16 teams competing. We were expecting over 20 this year, but this is usually a tournament that also happens in October and not January. So, if this was a usual year, we would have been in Vegas about a week ago hosting a tournament out there. So everything's changed a little bit. But regardless, if it's us and pins and a ball going down the lane, and then we're going to be happy. This whole COVID situation has really taught you not to take any moment for granted. And nothing's really guaranteed until we finally get out there and compete. So we're going to make sure that once the opportunity comes, we're ready to go, though. We've been, these past 9 months, we've been telling the team, it's, this, you're going to be able to tell that first tournament back who used this time off wisely and who kind of slacked off during that time. And we feel really good about the team we have, and think we're going to show some people all the hard work we put in these past 9 months waiting for this moment.
Yeah. Talk about the practice. You guys, the girls are different places in the United States. Some of them are international. Some of them don't even go home for 2 years because you're Australia or whatever. How do they just go find a bowling alley and go, hey, I want to go up to PA and find something? How do they train?
Yeah, I mean, when we practice, I mean, we're all together as a team. We'll go up to Sunshine Lanes in Waynesboro where the tournament is. But when they're on their own, I mean, back home, it's been tough because some of them, depending on what state you're in, it really depends on how much you've been bowling these past 9 months. Like you said, I mean, we have a couple athletes in California, and when they're home over the summer, when we sent them home for the Christmas break, they're not bowling at all. Meanwhile, we have, people in other parts of the country. We have 2 athletes from Florida, and I don't think they've ever shut down bowling centers really since they reopened them. In terms of what, there's different drills that we could do and that we do in bowling, one-step drills, no-step drills. Mainly what I tell them is just make sure you keep your spare shooting sharp. I mean, any good bowler will tell you your strike game's nothing without your spare game. But this whole COVID pandemic has really challenged us because some of my bowlers over this winter break have got to bowl every day, but some of them, to no fault of their own, haven't got to bowl in the last 60 days because we've been off since Thanksgiving. And then we get these 8 practices since they've came back to get ready for this tournament this weekend.
Wow, that's crazy. Talk about bowling now than from last year. Because I know with COVID and it's like 6 feet and everybody brings out a ruler and making sure everybody's all social distance. What are they doing in the bowling alley? Are they doing like you're on lane 1 and 2 and they don't turn on 3 and 4 and they go 4 and 5 and what do they do? Keep everybody perfect.
Yeah, every tournament has their own guidelines and things change from tournament to tournament. But I think what you just described is probably what you see the most common measure that we're taking is every other pair. So a match on 1 and 2 and then skip a pair, a match on 3 and 4. In some cases, in the Northeast where things are a little more restrictive, I'm seeing even, 1 pair on, 2 pairs off, 1 pair on. And the reason why you see some schools doing that is so you could put the bench for both teams, the people not in the lineup, on those pairs to the right and to the left of you without being right up next to that other match. So that's kind of what we're doing with our Mount Shootout this weekend. And, of course, I mean, just testing, every school is required to get, a negative test, PCR within 72 hours of the event. Masks are on at all times unless they're on the approach, but some tournaments are doing mask on all the time, even when you're on the approach. Temperature checks the second you walk in the door. You're doing endless symptom forms, verifying you don't have any symptoms every day. So it's funny because I was telling my assistant today, it's like we ran a huge tournament in Las Vegas last year, and 15 schools, and that was a lot less stressful than running this little 3-team tournament this weekend, just trying to make sure all the COVID protocols are in place, because that, honestly, it seems like it increases the workload by 200%. And the funny thing is, with hosting these tournaments, you're one negative test away from, lack of better words, it's all for nothing. If you get a negative test, it gets shut down anyways. So it's very challenging. These athletes are going through a lot, but we're happy we at least have the opportunity to play again.
Yeah, let's talk about the schedule here in January for women's bowling. I saw this online, the other day. It's a very interesting schedule. It's like, if you look at it, it's like, you got you guys, bowling your thing, this weekend, and then you got to go over, at the end of the month, you have like, one in Glen Burnie with Coppin State, and then you got the one in New York, and then Warhawk Classic. It's like a lot of tournaments, but it's all, like you said, if one of them shuts down, if with a negative, with a positive test, then you're done.
Yeah, that's true. Well, the good thing about bowling is, like, if a tournament has 8 teams, really you just have to hope that the team that's hosting doesn't get positive. So I mean, if a team gets tested positive, but they're not the one hosting the event will still go on. That's kind of the advantage of having 8 teams. Whereas, basketball or any one-on-one sports, if just that other team gets sick, you're done. But as long as it's not the host team that gets sick, we're good to go. But, even if there were 8 teams competing, we're going to Coppin State's event next weekend that you just talked about in Glen Burnie, although they just moved to Baltimore recently, so it's in Baltimore. Okay. And I'm not trying to wish bad luck on Coppin State, so if Shawnita sees this, I promise I'm not doing that. But if Coppin State got sick, we could still also probably contact one of those schools and say, well, we'll open up our bowling center, or you open up your bowling center. We can make something work this week. So that is the advantage, unlike some other sports where, basketball, you set one date with one opponent, and if one of those 2 teams gets sick, it's over. When you have 10 teams in one building, but one team gets sick, okay, let's work with whatever teams are left and make something happen. So as long as we stay negative and do our job in this team bubble we're trying to create on campus to the best of our ability, I think we're going to have something to compete in almost every weekend. We just probably won't know what that's going to look like till the day of.
That's true. Well, Coach Ken, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Yeah, we had a good time with Johnny Halliday. He was telling us a Neil Diamond story, because I love Neil Diamond. My mother loves Neil Diamond. He was telling me a story. It was a great story that my mom would enjoy to hear that one. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that. And thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you throughout the season, and good luck this weekend. And we'll talk to you hopefully before middle of February and see how's everything going.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chris.
All right, man. Thank you so much. All right, folks. That's Coach DeGroff there from the Mount, and we're finally done here. So thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks to Johnny Halliday, Dean Marlowe from the Buffalo Bills, and also Ryan Harris. In the meantime, yes, folks, we're gonna bring this guy on. Yeah, we have So hold on a second here. Yes. If you had a chance to listen to Johnny Halliday's conversation about Neil Diamond, that's right. Yeah, we'll try to put it on our Twitter page. Yeah, never heard that story before. Neil Diamond playing basketball. So in the meantime, we'll see you all next Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Hopefully we get the gang back in. Real quick, Buffalo at Kansas City on Sunday. If you want to see Dean Barlow play against the Kansas City Chiefs for the second time this season. And don't forget, if you want to vote for our, go up here. I have my thing here. If you want to vote, which 2 teams you want to see in the Super Bowl, go now to our Twitter page at HerbFM. So have a great, for you and the Creek and George Pachera. I'm Chris Heidel. Have a great evening, and do some crack on Rosie for you.